Austria's foreign minister will act as caretaker chancellor as the far-right Freedom Party seek to form a ruling coalition after victory in recent elections. Around 20 people, nearly all of whom were women or children, were reportedly killed by Israeli airstrikes in Gaza.
Donald Trump Jr. makes a surprise visit to Greenland amid controversy stemming from his father's interest to seize the territory.
Austrian Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg will be named caretaker chancellor, taking over from outgoing Karl Nehammer, who quit after centrist coalition talks collapsed. Schallenberg previously acted as Austrian Chancellor in 2021 after former Chancellor Sebastian Kurz stepped down amidst corruption allegations. Austria's conservative OVP-led government will remain in power as caretakers until a new coalition is formed. Herbert Kickl and his far-right Freedom Party secured victory in recent parliamentary elections, surpassing Nehammer's OVP, which came in second. However, the OVP refused to enter a coalition with the FPO under Kickl, leading to a political stalemate. Efforts to form a governing alliance without the FPO failed by early January, prompting Nehammer to announce his resignation last Saturday.
An Italian journalist that was arrested and detained in a notorious prison in Tehran has been freed. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said Cecilia Sala's release comes after intensive work on diplomatic and intelligence channels. The Italian leader said the government had informed the 29-year-old's family. Sala, a reporter for the Foglio Daily, was detained in Iran on 19 December, days after her arrival in the country. Iranian state media said she had violated the laws of the Islamic Republic, but the case soon turned political. Italian commentators have speculated that Iran arrested her as a bargaining chip to ensure the release of its journalist, Mohammed Abedini, who was detained by Italy under a U.S. warrant. Authorities in Spain's Canary Islands say some 780 migrants have arrived in the last 24 hours, continuing the unprecedented and record-breaking influx of arrivals from last year. Local officials said the migrants arrived in 10 boats on the islands of Lanzarote and El Hierro. The first migrant arrivals of the year come after a record year where more than 43,000 migrants arrived in the Spanish archipelago islands.
Israeli airstrikes in southern Gaza killed around 20 people, nearly all of whom were women or children, according to local health authorities. 5 children were killed as they sheltered together in the same tent, according to the director of the children's ward at a Khan Yunis hospital. Their bodies were amongst 8 children and 5 women brought to the hospital after strikes reportedly tore into tents for displaced Palestinians, a car and 2 houses. Israel claimed to have targeted militants who had taken part in the October 7, 2023 attack which sparked the war, but did not provide evidence. Israel blamed Hamas for the civilian casualties. The ongoing war in Gaza is raging with no end in sight and has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians, more than half of whom were women and children, according to local health authorities.
More than 500 aftershocks with magnitudes of up to 4.4 followed a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that shook Tibet on Tuesday. Meanwhile, rescue efforts are underway with 1,850 rescuers on the ground along with firefighters. Chinese officials reported that 400 people who were trapped under the rubble were rescued. However, the number of people still unaccounted for is unknown.
下一步我们的工作重点是前往各个村，因为这次受灾面积是比较广的，前往各个村，了解这个咱们的受灾情况，以及一个哪里需要一个被困人员，对我们后续的大部队进行提供一个救援的一个前期的咱们这个情况汇报。
Tents, quilts, and other relief items were sent to provide shelter. Areas around the epicenter of Tuesday's quake have an average altitude of 4,200 meters, and so temperatures fell well below freezing overnight. A wildfire that spread as a result of extreme winds swept through the Pacific Palisades, a Los Angeles hillside home to many celebrity residences. Local officials said roughly 30,000 residents were under evacuation orders, some of who abandoned their cars and fled by foot due to clogged roads. While they could not give an exact number of structures damaged or destroyed, the Los Angeles fire chief said 10,000 homes were under threat by the fire. The blaze began around 10:30 in the morning after the start of the Santa Ana windstorm. The National Weather Service warned that the storm could be the strongest to hit Southern California in over a decade. Officials said the exact cause of the fire is still unknown, but that no injuries have been reported. The fire is expected to continue for a few days, including in areas that haven't seen substantial rain in months.
Donald Trump Jr. made a surprise visit to Greenland. His trip comes as tensions are heightened after his father, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, sparked a controversy as he expressed his intent of controlling Greenland. Many reporters flooded the capital's Nuuk airport upon hearing the news of his visit, with one question on their mind: why are you here?
Here as tourists, seeing it, looks like an incredible place. We've been talking about going for a while. I was actually supposed to be here last spring for some of the stuff I do in my free time, but just really excited to be here.
Shortly after Trump's arrival in Greenland, Trump Sr. held a press conference at his Florida Mar-a-Lago estate, adding fuel to the fire. Trump reaffirmed his interest in seizing Greenland, refusing to rule out the use of military and economic force to achieve that objective.
Yeah, I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two.
He's even ramped up threats to Denmark, warning Copenhagen against not complying with Washington's bid to purchase the island.
If Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
Denmark's prime minister reacted to the new developments, reaffirming Copenhagen's unwavering position of Greenland not being for sale.
Grønland grønlændernes. Det er et meget, meget stolt folkefærd. Det er et sprog, det er en kultur. Det er en befolkning, som er sin egen. Og som formand for Naalakkersuisut, museet i øvrigt har sagt, så er Grønland ikke til salg. USA er vores absolut tætteste allierede. Vi vil altid gerne arbejde tættere sammen med amerikanerne. Det gælder i alle forsvars- og sikkerhedspolitiske spørgsmål. Det gælder også Nordatlanten, hvor spændingerne tager til. Og vi har set med vestlige briller en meget klar interesse i, at det er USA, der, når det kommer til hele det område, at det er USA, der spiller en stor rolle, og ikke.
This isn't the first time Washington had attempted to gain control of Greenland. In 1946, U.S. officials offered Denmark $100 million worth of gold bars to take ownership of the world's largest island. And just like it failed back then, Danish and Greenlandic officials say it won't work this time either. The late U.S. President Jimmy Carter's body has returned to Washington for a ceremony in the Capitol. His casket was flown in from his home state of Georgia, where he'd been lying in repose at the Carter Presidential Center since Saturday. The 39th President of the United States returned to the nation's capital almost 44 years after his defeat in the 1980 U.S. election to be honored in death. Emotional supporters lined up outside police barricades to witness the moment his casket entered the Capitol building.
I actually met Jimmy Carter in Japan many years ago at a reception where he was there campaigning with the Japanese for his campaign against the guinea worm, which he eradicated this this horrible disease, childhood disease in Africa. So I just feel it's really important to honor him.
The late president's remains were carried into the Capitol by U.S. troops. His casket, draped in an American flag, was laid down in the center of the Capitol rotunda. Members of Congress from both parties and Vice President Kamala Harris gathered around his casket to pay their respects and eulogize the former president.
Today we gather to begin a final farewell to Jimmy Carter, Navy veteran, peanut farmer, Governor of Georgia, and President of the United States.
We all know that his care for humanity didn't stop at building homes. In the face of illness, President Jimmy Carter brought life-saving medicine. In the face of conflict, he brokered peace. In the face of discrimination, he reminded us that we are all made in the image of God.
James Earl Carter Jr. loved our country. He lived his faith. He served the people. And he left the world better than he found it.
Jimmy Carter's funeral is set for Thursday in Washington. U.S. President Joe Biden will be in attendance and is scheduled to deliver a eulogy. The late president, who died on the 29th of December at the age of 100, will then be flown back to Plains, Georgia, where he'll be buried in his hometown.
Didier Deschamps announced on Wednesday that he will step down as coach of the French national football team. The manager said he would stay until the next FIFA World Cup that will be held in 2026. Deschamps led France to victory in the 2018 World Cup and helped the team reach the final in the 2022 World Cup and at the 2016 European Championships. He also led the team to a Nations League title in 2021.